Six Nations, Wales and Scotland. It's 5:26 in the morning, folks. Good morning. How's it going? You'll forgive me if I keep the voice down a wee bit. The kids are still sleeping just down the hall. 20 points to 17. Wales over Scotland. That was the storyline going into this one. Are Wales that bad? Does Pivac need to go? Can Scotland do what they've been threatening to do for years with the depth? Can they back up a win over England with an away win in Cardiff where they haven't won, I think, since 2002? No. Wales are still a competitive side, believe it or not. I changed my pick in the Super Brew predictions poll to Wales last minute, thinking Wales might get it done, and surely they rewarded a bit of my faith. Interesting kind of game, very different halves. The first one was probably a bit more helter-skelter. The second half was a bit more safe, I guess you want to say. Both sides maybe sick of being pinged at the breakdown, maybe a bit happier to play without the ball. But anyway, we will go through some key events, some stats, and you guys can let me know your thoughts on the game. Believe me, I probably missed some stuff because I got up at about 3:15 to watch this one. So, but yeah, I was rewarded. I mean, it was raining, to be fair, so the handling actually wasn't too bad given the conditions. It didn't seem to be absolutely peltering down, but it was consistently wet, seemingly. Scotland's first few carries looked pretty ominous. Matt Fagerson looked dangerous, but interestingly, when Wales first got the ball after being under a heap of pressure, Owen Watkin tearing up the field as well. So both sides looking rather threatening, I thought, which was a good way to start the game. Wales went out to a 6-0 lead pretty early on. Scrum penalty was one, and then I think it was Jonny Gray conceding a breakdown penalty, another. So Wales 6-0 lead after looking a little bit under pressure early from that kind of sharp Scottish attack. Was a decent result, but in this game, which had momentum swinging both ways, the first try went to Scotland. Darcy Graham continues to maybe be the more dangerous of the two wingers. Like, he did everything in this game. Scored a try, was taking high balls, put a loose forward into touch. Like, yeah, Darcy Graham did a wee bit of everything. And he got the first try. Like I said, it was an interesting one because Scotland going through the phases in the centre of the field maybe compressed the Welsh defence a little bit, but then they spin it wide. Finn Russell, big cutout pass, and Darcy Graham just does Rees-Zammit all ends up, doesn't he? He's a tough man to stop. They missed the conversion, but it was 8 points to 6. And Wales. Sorry, it was 5 points to 6, and then the penalty made it 8 points to 6. That was a soft one from I think it was Jack Morgan being offside. So then it was 8 points to 6 with Scotland in front. The conversion had been missed, so they were initially only 5-6 behind. Pierre Schoeman, who my commentator insists on calling Schumann, he won a nice breakdown penalty on Tom Francis, and the momentum was pretty much at that point all Scotland. It was looking a little bit hairy for Wales, especially when Rowlands gets penalised for a maul infringement when Scotland are going forward. So they opt for another 3 Scotland, and it's 11 points to 6. I think that might have been the biggest lead for Scotland in this game. But to be fair, Wales, in that kind of crunch moment where you got to wait and see, are they going to collapse under this pressure or are they going to fight back? They fought back, which was really pleasing to see. In the crowd with the singing maybe helped be that kind of extra player on the field for them. They went through 14 phases before getting advantage. Biggar, interestingly, tried to tap it quickly and go over. He didn't take the tap from the mark, but it was just indicative of, I don't know, Wales wanting to play with tempo. Like I said earlier, when they were under pressure, turned it over, and then Watkin was running up the field. It's kind of stuff you weren't necessarily expecting. But anyway, they ended up opting for the penalty with that, Biggar not taking it from the mark, so it was 9 points to 11, kind of back to touch and go stuff. Maybe a bit shaky head stuff from Wales, though, on like 27 minutes when they got a 5-metre line out. Their line out's been a little bit shaky. Like, their line out stats come out at 100%, but some of them weren't that clean, to be honest. And Wales, from their own line out, immediately, I think it's Thomas Williams, takes a long line out and then just immediately gets turned over at the breakdown or concedes a penalty at the breakdown. So Scotland able to opt for another penalty, 14 points to 9. But sometimes you need a little bit of good luck. You need the ball just to bounce in, and Liam Williams got that big old kick. His drops just like half a metre from the touchline, so he gets a really sweet looking 50-22, and the grin on his face says it all. He got pretty lucky, but couldn't have hit that much more perfectly. And interestingly, on the half an hour mark, Scotland got a warning for a potential yellow card for continually falling on the wrong side of the breakdown. And I feel like both sides early on were maybe adapting a little bit to Nick Berry, because they seem to be kind of getting penalised for a lot of breakdown infringements anyway. So yeah, they got that warning. Matt Fagerson goes off injured, which is pretty unfortunate because he'd been in pretty cracking form. But yeah, from there, Wales opt for touch. They press the advantage with a maul, and eventually your man Thomas Francis goes over for a try. So the game is tied up because they can't get the conversion. But yeah, it goes into halftime, 14 points apiece. It's been a cracking first half, man. Only 2 tries. But given the conditions and just the ebbs and flows of the momentum, it was a pretty thoroughly entertaining first half. It's pretty tight. Run meters are 238, 241. Possession and territory is slightly in Scotland's favour. Clean breaks is 1-3. Scotland's tackling percentage is still massively high, but they've had to make a couple more than Wales. So yeah, it's a properly tight first half. Watkins looked pretty sound. Hamish Watson still hasn't missed a tackle. Yeah, it's a really good first half. Second half, as I said, way more tentative. Hogg tries a 50-22, kicks out on the full. Watkin, just as I've been kind of singing his praises, kicks out on the full. So yeah, both sides not seemingly want to play with the ball in any kind of danger area. Neither side really running the ball as much as we'd seen in the first half. Scotland did go back in front on around 50 minutes with Wales slowing the ball down, so a penalty, 17 points to 14, but that's the last of the scoring for Scotland. And if you're a Scotland fan, you'll be tearing your hair out because your side spent essentially 30 minutes scoreless. And I think there was a few times when they didn't really secure their restart ball very well. I think it was after that penalty was another one. Was it the one where Russell got charged down, put them under a wee bit of pressure? Yeah, it was a little bit maybe frustrating, but then Wales forward passed it. Anyway, I thought Hogg's boot, especially in that second half, was pretty punishing. He was getting such distance on that thing that eventually Wales seemed to stop opting to kick it long. They would just opt to kick it low in the area behind the Scottish forwards, but not as far as the Scottish backfield, because if you were kicking it to Hogg, he was just returning it with absolute interest. So yeah, it was an interesting one to kind of watch that kicking duel. But to be fair, Liam Williams was really comfortable at the back. There's a couple of times when he's fielding those huge Hogg kicks in the backfield under heaps of pressure, but yeah, the calmness to just maybe offload or pass to one of his teammates around him or step the oncoming Scottish defenders was pretty classy, to be honest, because he wasn't going to win a kicking duel anyway. Scotland went for a drop goal from a restart, from a goal line dropout, but it was well short. That was on 54 minutes, and then on 56, maybe the best attacking phases of the second half, especially from Wales. They went through like 10 phases. They went eventually got themselves advantage, and then even the score up 17 points apiece. So back to being game on. Scottish bomb squads come on after like 45 minutes, but unfortunately Sutherland has to go off after about an hour, so that's kind of unfortunate for him. Biggar was looking pretty hurt for the majority of the second half, but he didn't go off until about 2 minutes from time, so he was just, I don't know. He didn't get exposed, fortunately, because he could barely move some of the times, but he was holding it together, so credit to him for that. He did miss a long penalty on 66 minutes Biggar, but it was close, hit the post, and that actually gave Wales a really good chance. Cuthbert looks like he might have gone over in the corner. Nothing doing. They say that he's got a foot and touch TMO, but they go back for Finn Russell with a deliberate knock on because he's trying to go for an intercept one-handed. And yeah, they ruled that that's a deliberate knock on. So because of the field position, he gets yellow carded. Interesting, weird kind of play after the yellow card because Wales show some ruthlessness to go for the maul while Russell's in the bin. And they get advantage, then they go for touch again. Interestingly, Scotland also not contesting the line-out, which I thought was interesting because Wales' line-out struggled a lot last week, but Scotland were often just content to set to stop the maul drive, which is fair enough. Sometimes you got to pick which area you're going to focus on. They were picking to disrupt the maul, which was maybe good for Wales because I said their line-out had been under a lot of pressure last week, but eventually they get advantage again, Wales, and Biggar just slots the drop goal. And the drop goal is the difference in this game. So, in hindsight, that's a brilliant move, but it was weird. Like, why would you not just take the penalty initially to opt for 3 if you just wanted to take the 3? I don't know. It just seemed weird. They had advantage. Why wouldn't you go for a try? I don't know. Just an interesting choice. But it doesn't cost them. It ends up winning the game. So, yeah, perfect in the scheme of things. Dillon Lewis got to turnover on 77 minutes. That's the end of the yellow card period. Scotland guilty of a few knock-ons, to be fair, in the latter period of the game. A few penalties conceded. Wales have a maul on like 78, 79 minutes, and it's like, this is going to be the end of the game. But no. Sam Skinner, I think, gets a turnover, cracks up the field. Taine Basham smashes into him. TMO has a look at that one. And he's a pretty lucky boy, I think, because it seemed like he was maybe leading with the shoulder, and they said it was contact to the arm, but yeah, I've seen that kind of stuff yellow carded for sure, certainly. So just a penalty. Scotland essentially need to go length of the field. They get into Wales' half, but that's about as far as they eventually. Wales get a penalty at the breakdown. I think it's off a Hogg carry, and they kick it into touch from the resulting penalty. It's game over. It's a win for Wales at home. Goodness me, the next game's on in a few minutes. I better go. Scotland have got France at home in a couple of weeks. Wales are away to England. Liam Williams, 136 run meters. Pretty confident at the back. Hogg finishes with 55, but gets a clean break and 3 defenders beaten. He was pretty ever-present with that boot of his. Kicks from hand is 37-28. So like I said, Wales' kicking game, especially in that second half, had to adapt. Run meters 466 to 452, so pretty tight. Possessions 50-50. Territory is slightly in Wales' favour, especially in that second half. Turnovers conceded though 11-6, with Scotland conceding more, almost double the turnovers conceded. A lot of those knock-ons. Penalties conceded 13-8. Again, that's I think one of the key areas for Scotland. Both lineouts at 100%. So yeah, Scotland will be pretty peed off with the penalties, some of the turnovers, but. Yeah, good win for Wales. And Scotland still, man, just can't back up 2 results in a row. Pretty frustrating. But anyway, I'm going to go watch France and Ireland. You guys take care of yourselves, and I'll talk to you guys again soon. See you later.